Massive worlds, wars, community, and a whole other life to lead. Welcome to my 20 upcoming PC MMO games in 2018 and 2019 list. Now, MMORPGs have been hit or miss over the years, some becoming cultural phenomenons to others living and dying in obscurity. Many on this list are promising to revolutionize the genre, while others are aiming to return to its roots. Either way, there's a lot to explore, so let's get started. First up, we have Ashes of Creation by Intrepid Studios. Rebuild, repopulate, and rediscover a fallen medieval fantasy world untouched for thousands of years. An open world with changing environments, housing, and questing, with combat involving sieges, PvE, and PvP, all with crafting and trade being a thing. The game is currently in alpha and you can pre-order, but there's also already a lot of microtransactions available, including pre-order packs, which might turn some people off. Early footage does seem to show a lot of promise though, so hopefully it turns out impressive and monetization doesn't get out of hand as it moves forward. Next we've got the Saga of Lucimia by Stormhaven Studios. A high fantasy MMORPG with a focus on teamwork and building friendships rather than leveling and solo questing. Aiming to go back to basics, community is everything with group-based emergent gameplay, and the world is a sandbox and specifically not a theme park, with no quest hubs, no minimap, and a massive world with classless characters. In early access pre-alpha now, gameplay footage is understandably still rough, and they're working out how all the mechanics will go together, and it's important to note that this is a completely PvE title with no PvP. Because of that, it isn't going to be for everyone, but not everyone wants PvP in multiplayer, so check it out yourself if you like the look of it. Then we have Legends of Aria by Citadel Studios. In a world rich in lore and diverse locations, build, explore, and adventure with thousands of other players in a living, breathing world defined by you. Combat is skill-based, there's player housing, and you'll choose your own path, being a craftsman, adventurer, or even just a fisherman in the sandbox MMORPG. The concept is to move away from traditional levels, classes, and quest grinding, which sounds good for those who prefer less rigid gameplay, but that direction also risks ending up more aimless. Customization is a big point though, even allowing you to customize and run your own game worlds. So if the player base is active and enthusiastic, this could be a great one to get into. Next up we have Life is Feudal MMO by Bitbox. Medieval life on a grand scale that allows thousands of players to live in an ever-evolving world. Open PvP, full loot, sieges and raids, complex crafting and building, and an unforgiving no-target physics-based combat system are the features listed for this under the title Hardcore. Sounds good, but it's been in early access on Steam with very mixed reviews, some loving the game while others not so much due to bugs, performance issues, too much grind, or just a lack of things to do. Though it is still in development to be fair. One of the main concerns is that the game is actually on a subscription model, and when you buy a starter pack, it only gives you the premium experience for a limited time. This might be just the game for you, but be sure to carefully read everything as it's not always clear what you're buying. And then we've got Ascent Infinite Realm by Bluehole Studio. From the creators of Terra and PUBG, here's a world filled with airships, dragons, magic, and adventure. Control ships, fight monsters of all sizes, explore the skies, craft and build, and live in the world with class-based characters. Overall, it looks interesting enough, but there are big concerns regarding the game being buggy and unstable, and the reveal trailer looking laggy with bad frame rate doesn't help those concerns. Might be cool, or it might end up as a technical mess. We'll find out as it gets more developed. Next we've got Worlds Adrift by BOSSA Studios. Continuing the airship theme, here's a sandbox MMO where players are meant to create their own goals as they explore a physical, persistent world. Floating islands, airships, and thousands of players encountering threats and designing and crafting their own ships. Although an idea like this can be cool, terms like emergent gameplay, freeform, and player built are used a lot for this game. That makes me worry that how good the game turns out to be is almost entirely reliant on the players, and that's always a big risk. It is in early access on Steam and overall has mostly positive reviews, but you can see as the game has gone on it's dropped to mixed, many citing high-level players griefing new players and the players generally being unpleasant, seeming to realize my main concern. You could jump in now, but just know what you're getting into, though I'd recommend waiting until release to see how they solve all of these problems. Then we have City of Titans by Missing Worlds Media. Okay, this entry is technically about 3 games all trying to do similar things. Pick up the torch of the old City of Heroes. We've got City of Titans, Ship of Heroes and Valiance Online, but I'll focus on City of Titans for now. Calling itself a spiritual successor to the 2004 superhero MMORPG, is a game about being a hero or villain in a world where there's always hope even in the darkest of times. Create your ideal character, explore an open world, use your powers for good or evil, and complete quests. Raising over $650,000 on Kickstarter and frequent development updates, this is looking to be a promising MMO that could live up to expectations. However, it's important to note that they were targeting some kind of release years ago, and overall it's been a slow crawl to any kind of proper release. The beta is now scheduled for fall 2018, but is subject to change. By the way, I focus on City of Titans here, but don't forget the other 2 heroes and villains kind of superhero MMOs in the works too. Ship of Heroes and Valiance Online are both a thing, so if you're looking for something like this, you can check out all 3. Next up, we've got Identity by Asylum Entertainment. Claiming to be redefining what it means to be an MMORPG while also restoring the genre to its roots? Identity is promising a lot, including an open world free of restrictions and player-defined destinies. With a modern setting, you'll be able to pursue jobs and a career, own a home, live a life of crime, and build your empire in your quest for wealth, glory, and power. It all sounds impressive and promising, but the MMO genre is no stranger to big talk, though they have raised $1 million, so they do have a bit of a budget. They've also started to show off some gameplay footage, which does look decent. The first module of the game is meant to be playable by April 2018 after being delayed from early 2017, so at that point we should have a clearer picture of whether all of these promises can be fulfilled. And then we have Wild West Online by 612 Games. This is a cowboy Wild West themed action MMO with an emergent systems-driven open world. Your actions build your own reputation and you can be a hero or villain, claiming or creating bounties through a crime and punishment system. Explore, gather resources, and engage in PvP combat or complete PvE quests. Development is planned to be somewhat episodic with a variety of future expansions planned, but the new content is meant to be completely free as the seasons go on. That could mean it could be a bit lacking in content at the start though. Now Wild West Online does also have some kind of weird controversy going around possibly shady business practices, but I'm not gonna say one way or another, you can look it up yourself. The game does seem promising, but I'll just be very careful with this one, and maybe wait until closer to release before putting any money into it. Next we have Boundless by Wonderstruck. A voxel sandbox MMO where you explore a vast universe of procedurally generated connected worlds as you build an empire with friends. Be a seasoned hunter, a weathered explorer, a master builder, a shrewd trader, or a natural fighter as you build a shop, trade, create sandbox contraptions, hunt for titans, claim lands, and open portals. It's been in early access on Steam since 2014 and was aiming for a late 2017 release, which it has missed, but receiving mostly positive reviews. Most seem to be enjoying it, and there does seem to be a lot to it. More than can be said here, so if you like the look of it, check it out and read all the details to see if it's something you'll be into. Then we've got Valnir Rock by Encurio. This is a Viking multiplayer sandbox survival game with wild animals, mythical beasts, and violent people. PvP and PvE combat, scavenging for resources and crafting, build structures, complete NPC quests, and earn the gods' favor as you defend your land and clan. Available in early access on Steam now with mixed reviews. You can check it out, but gripes detail issues with lots of bugs, performance issues, poor visual and sound design, and just generally that the game isn't done yet. If you like the look of it, I'd keep an eye until it's more developed, then it might turn out to be what it's meant to be. Next up we have Conqueror's Blade by Booming Games. Sandbox warfare across ancient Eastern and Western civilizations combining action and tactics gameplay. This looks to be a mix of Total War and For Honor, but an MMO where you'll be able to engage in massive battles to one-on-one duels where you'll be able to acquire vast territories. It's a free-to-play game which can make it easy to get into, but it's always a concern when it comes to current and future business model practices. Either way, it's currently in beta, so getting a closer look is not a problem. And then we've got Bless Online by NeoWiz Bless Studio. Calling itself an expansive AAA fantasy MMORPG, choose your side in an ongoing battle between two factions. Explore dungeons, join raids, tame creatures, and fight in realm v realm battles involving up to 200 players, 100 per side. Visually, it looks good. Information-wise, it can be a bit confusing as it's getting a global release. Gameplay mechanics, particularly combat, could be different in the West compared to the Asian version, and there's also big concerns regarding pay-to-win elements, which, to be clear, is not guaranteed at this point, but microtransactions are a thing, at least with shop items being primarily for convenience or vanity. It's really hard to know for sure, so as it's said to be coming in 2018 on Steam, when it's closer to release, hopefully everything will be clear and finalized for us to make a proper decision on it. Next we've got Dark and Light by SNAIL Games USA. A vast survival sandbox MMORPG set in a world dominated by powerful elemental forces. Explore a magical world that's been cast in shadows and use magical skills to survive, transform, and battle. Meant to encourage players to band and build together, there is some reliance on a positive player base, and the ability to build anywhere could get out of hand and players stepping on each other's toes. Though it could also facilitate a creative and living world. It's been in early access on Steam since mid-2017, but with mixed reviews. Balance bugs and some game design choices seem to be a problem, but updates are frequent, so given more time, this could shape up to be a solid title. Then we have Darkfall New Dawn by Uber Games. Okay, not technically a new game, but this is a special case. Darkfall was an MMO back in 2009, but it went badly and some even calling it vaporware, referencing how it was never complete or just a terrible game that didn't fulfill its promises. What this is a revival of the game acquired by a new development team to overhaul the whole game. There was an extensive and, more importantly, completed roadmap before the relaunch of sorts in early 2018, and there is a continuing roadmap for improvements and changes as the game goes on. So it's basically a whole new game in development. Some things to consider though: visually the game can look dated and it's on a monthly subscription form of monetization, which is going to keep a lot of people away from the game, especially considering its notorious history. If you're okay with that and can look past its limitations, then it's got a massive single server open world, no instances, it's got skill-based mounted and naval combat, factions, classless progression, and more that's different from the original. Next up we have Shroud of the Avatar by PORTALARIUM. Combining single-player narrative with sandbox MMO, this one interestingly gives you a choice of how multiplayer the game will be. You could go it alone and follow the story, have selective multiplayer, or a full-on MMO. There's also a classless system, player-driven economy, crafting, housing, and various PvP systems and guild warfare. This is one that we've been watching for a number of years, but its release is set for March 2018. Visually, it's nothing to shout about, but gameplay could be good. Planning a 5-episode release with each one sold separately, there isn't a subscription fee, but that's the business model they're going with. If that sounds like something you're into, then go have a closer look. And then we've got CAMELOT Unchained by City State Entertainment. 3 realms in one persistent, massive open-world sandbox with player-built towns and cities, customizable and dynamic combat abilities, crafting and building, hundreds of players together for realm v realm battles, and the ability to procedurally generate terrain. Raising over $4.5 million, this is another one that we've been watching for a while now. Not too much official gameplay has been revealed, especially recently, but it's going into beta in 2018 and we'll be able to see what the game is really like then. Next we've got Pantheon Rise of the Fallen by Visionary Realms. Taking place in a high fantasy world of deities, heroes, and creatures, this is an MMO that requires intense cooperation where friends and allies are core to the experience. stating that from the moment you log in, you will notice that the game is more social. The player base is really what counts here. If they manage to foster a pleasant culture around the game, it could really be something different, but that could go either way. Harsh environments, player-driven economy, meaningful class-based gameplay, and a progeny system for characters are also a thing. There's a lot to this, so if you like what you hear so far, go check it out. Then we have Chronicles of ELYRIA by Soulbound Studios. Enter the world as a member of an NPC family and work your way up to greatness. Unique quests generated just for your character, a fully destructible environment, closed economy with finite resources, skill-based progression, and survival elements are all a part of this one. Aiming to avoid grind and be as new and dynamic as possible every time you log in, this could be a refreshing experience for an MMO if they manage to pull it off. There's also a legacy system, going from one generation to the next as your character actually ages and dies. Their soul continues on in the next body. Raising just under $4 million from crowdfunding, there's good support for the game, and it's got a lot of interesting ideas that might make it something you want to keep an eye on. Finally, we have Crowfall by Artcraft Entertainment. Explore, build, and conquer in this throne war MMO that you can actually win. The main selling point here is that besides the expected crafting, trade, building, and character progression, there's also massive scale PvP, including sieges in campaign worlds that last 3 months to even a year. Success or failure in these will have an effect on the game world, and in general it adds a more specific long-term goal to an MMO, which can often feel repetitive or aimless. Impressively, this game has raised over $20 million in crowdfunding, so there's a lot of backing behind this, and hopefully it does actually reach completion and not suffer from endless feature creep. It's in early access now though, so you can have a closer look and see if it's for you. Now we have a bunch of bonus games to mention, starting with some Asian MMOs. Now Asian MMOs often take a longer time to get a global release, if they get one at all. But they are Peria Chronicles, Age of Wushu 2, Astelia, Soulworker, Godslayer Online, and Lost Ark. A few other games to keep in mind. Project TL is still a thing apparently. It used to be called Lineage Eternal, but not too sure what's going on with that one. CCP Games is creating a new and highly ambitious MMO, is what they say. Amazon's New World is an upcoming MMO apparently, and Magic the Gathering has an MMORPG in the works as well. If you're into the strategy side, Novus Eterno is an MMORTS, which you might be interested in. Developer Automaton is creating Project X, which is apparently a battle royale shooter with hundreds of players, so think PUBG but bigger. And of course, Anthem is on the way, but with EA doing what they've recently done, I'm not too sure we should get too hyped over Anthem. And as a final note, World of Warcraft is getting the Battle for Azeroth expansion, and Elder Scrolls Online is also getting a new expansion. And that's it, 20 upcoming MMORPGs that should be releasing through 2018 and some into 2019 depending on their development. Which ones are you most excited about? Also, here's something I'd like to know. Are you into MMOs now because you've always been into them, or did you pick up the MMO genre later on in your gaming experience? Personally, I didn't grow up with or start gaming with MMOs and have only really gotten into a few over the years. How would you suggest someone who isn't based in MMOs to get into one? I'd love to know your suggestions. Now, if you'd like to see more upcoming games, check out the other lists on the channel sorted by genre shown at the top of the video for many more upcoming PC games, or my Gamer Encounters series where I take a much more extensive gameplay look at specific new games. Alright, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I'll see you in the next video.